Hello again everybody, Boyd here with you, and welcome to part 2 of our Uniformation GK2 printer review. What we're doing here today, you guys, we're going to show you how to set up a model in a slicer program and prepare the files so that we can transfer those over to the machine and do our first test print. So what we're going to be working with today, as you can see, I've got this really cool Star Wars Darth Vader model that I picked up from CGI Trader. You can go over there and find this model for free right now. It's a really neat little pose of Darth Vader. So we're going to do this as our first print today on the Uniformation printer. And I wanted to show you the slicer program that we're using. This is my basic go-to slicer program. This is called Chitubox. And you can download this program for free as well. Just go to chitubox.com and you'll find it. And this is the latest version. You want to make sure you update and go with their latest version because it has support in there for all the latest printers. So what we want to do first here is, you can see I've imported the model into the slicer program here from the STL files. This model has several options where you can print this larger and you can print it in pieces, but today we want to just print this all in one piece just to show you the basic setup for getting this going. And I selected this model because it has a lot of detail, a lot of different shapes and things like that. We want to test out how well our printer can handle that overall. So we're going with this. Now, the first thing we want to do here, you guys, is once you open the Chitubox Slicer program, you want to go over here to Settings and click on this, and you'll see that what we have here is we have in this upper left corner, we have a selection for choosing the actual printer that we're going with. So they have support in here for the Uniformation machine. We're going to scroll down here and find it. Okay, we have Uniformation right there. We double click on that and we see we have the Uniformation GK2. Okay, we select that. You can see the picture of the machine comes up. We select OK. And now we have that machine added into our list of printers. You can see I already had it here, but I just want to take you guys through this and show you. So basically we're going to go and look and see. We're going to be using normal type resin. This just, you can put in some information here about how much resin you're using and all that, and it'll basically tell you how much it's going to cost each time you do a print. I don't really worry about any of these things. We come over here to print and we see all of our resin settings. Now I'm going with the default setting on this. Uniformation information that I was able to find out there pretty much matches up with this. You can go online and you can do a search for printer profiles, and I found one for Uniformation GK2 and it pretty much matches up with this, so we're just going to go ahead and go with it. These settings over here are just some technical information about the speed and everything that your printer is going to be working at. Over here at Advanced, we've got some things like bottom light time, light power off on, anti-aliasing. Now I always go with a little bit of anti-aliasing. That makes it a little bit smoother print. You can see what that means here basically is the edges of the pixelation on the file. It kind of helps smooth that out a little bit. And some people like to use this, some people don't, but I just find I get really nice prints when I use this. It doesn't take away any of the fine detail. Only if you had like super microscopically small detail on some model that you're going to print, where you might want to consider turning that off, where you want to preserve that kind of detail if it's a really textured surface, like something like that. But on most applications I like to run the anti-aliasing. It just gives an overall smoother print, and it also will help remove some of the print lines that we see normally with 3D printing. Okay, so we're all set up and ready to go with that. I'm going to go back over here, and basically if you want to remove this, you just come up to here, you make sure it's highlighted, hit the trash button. Okay, we're going to check OK here. I've actually added another one now, so we're going to go up here and just trash this one, and then this one. I already have the machine here at the very top. Okay, so we want to make sure that before we go ahead and print anything that we're on that machine, right? So this time we're going to be using this machine to do our print, so then we just close this out. All right, now let's talk a little bit about how we set up a model. You can see it when the slicer first drops the model into the program here onto our build plate. It drops it down flat like this, and we can print this way, but we really don't want to do that. Well, what you'll find out with 3D printing is that anytime you have a flat surface here on the bottom, you want to basically tilt this a little bit, because that's the less amount of supports that it's going to need. Remember, printers cannot print across a horizontal plane basically in thin air like that, because what we're going to do here is we're going to raise this model up off of the build plate a little bit. We don't want to print the model straight down onto the build plate here, because we'll have a hard time removing it later. We're going to take you through a few basic procedures here that show you how to get this set up where you can have a lot easier time removing the parts off of the build plate once it's been printed. Okay, so we're going to come over here first, and what we're going to do is we're going to get a side angle to this. This is how I like to do it. Get down at kind of eye level right here, and we're going to come over and we're going to hit our rotate button. Okay, so then we see these 4 planes that we have here, actually 3 axes that we can move it on. Now I want to move this one here, which is the circle. So I'm basically going to grab it with my mouse and lock onto it. I'm going to tilt this back to where our flat part there on the bottom that we see right here, I'll click off of this and I'll zoom in on it for you a little bit. We get sort of like a greater than 45-degree angle, and what that does, if we come over here and look at this on the bottom now, you can see that we've got a nice open area here now that's away from the build plate. Okay, so that's gonna reduce the amount of supports that we're going to need on the bottom of this, because remember, if this was a flat horizontal plane going across here, we'd need supports all the way across right here. Okay, the second thing we're going to do is we're going to come up and hit move. Okay, and we're going to grab this and we're going to pull it up off of the build plate a little bit. Just kind of, after a little bit of practice, you just kind of figure out how far you want to go. I like to go about that much. The reason that we're doing that, you guys, is that whenever we're printing an object and it's got a big area like this kind of towards the bottom and near the build plate, we want to avoid what they call suction. And what that is every time the build plate raises and lowers, we get turbulence in here. And if we have a lot of that and we have this too close to the build plate, what happens is that gets kind of stirred up down here, and we'll end up getting a really rough surface down on the bottom here, which we don't want. We can go back and fix that after the model is printed. We can sand this smooth, but if it's severe enough, sometimes it'll actually eat away or affect a little bit of the edge right here that we can actually see, and we don't want to lose that detail. It's just kind of a standard procedure that everyone does when they print this type of a configuration. Okay, so just something to be aware of. And again, this comes with trial and error, you guys. You'll never figure out exactly how to do your prints right off the bat. You have to experiment a little bit, watch lots of videos on YouTube. That's what I did to learn. And you can find different techniques and methods that people are using, but based on trial and error, and it'll help you turn out a lot better prints. Okay, so we're rotated over here. Now we want to come up and we want to go over to our support section in the program. And now you can see what's happened here, you guys, is that we've got this what looks like a shadow underneath of our model here. Now this is because I've selected this particular setting over here, and it's called a raft. Okay, and the shape that I'm using on my raft is called a skate. Now what this is this will print a solid platform underneath of the model, and all of the supports are going to connect to that. You can see what I'm kind of highlighting that here. And the edges of this raft are beveled, okay, so that when we go to use our artist's knife here and slide this underneath of this after this has been printed, it'll help the knife get underneath of that edge much easier. You can just kind of work it in there and just rock it back and forth and break the model away from the build plate very, very easily. And it also gives you a large contact area here where the model is going to be attached to the build plate. The number one cause of print failures is when you don't have enough of a contact area, and during the process of printing this breaks away from the build plate, and then the model basically is a complete failure, and you'll usually wind up with a lot of cured resin inside of your vat at the bottom on your FEP, and it's a big mess to clean up. You never want that to happen. Okay, so I like to go with this method on all of my models, whether they're big or small, and it just works really, really well. Okay, so now we're going to come down here and we're going to just kind of take a brief overview. Now here we've got our support options. I like to use heavy supports on basically everything except really, really small parts. Okay, so we can see that this is a fairly chunky, heavy piece of resin. It's going to be printed solid, so it's going to have some weight to it. The last thing we want to have happen here is have too thin of supports where this could possibly break away because the supports can't support the weight, and then we have a failed print. I don't mind at all going back and removing and cleaning up supports. I also tend to use more supports than what's actually necessary because, again, I don't mind going back and doing all the cleanup. I'd rather do that than have a failed print. Okay, so we've got heavy supports selected. We come down here and we look at our density. Now this is how many supports. We're going to use the auto support feature here. This basically tells that how many supports to put in. So you can go from 0 up to 100%. 100% being that it'll put supports basically almost everywhere. And I'm at 60% here, so we're going to be kind of cutting down on that a little bit. And we'll just kind of see what it looks like when we go with that. We can always go in here and manually add more supports. So let's go ahead and hit the All button. It'll take just a second for it to generate the supports. And there we go. You can see everything's been put in place. Now I wanted to mention too quickly that all the other settings on here are adjustable, but these are all in their default. I haven't changed any of this, and I've had nothing but good luck with it set up like that. So now what we want to do, you guys, is we want to rotate the model around here, and we want to look at particular areas that we see in red or purple. And you can see that most of the areas are pretty well covered here. Anywhere there's an area where it's red or purple, that's going to be telling you that the model definitely is going to need support in that area. Now if we go look at the back of Darth Vader's cape here, we can see we've got a lot of areas that didn't get covered with our supports. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add some support. You can see you just highlight over it and this little support appears in green. We just left click and we just start adding in a few supports. Sometimes they'll connect to each other like that. We're going to work our way up here just to make sure these areas are fully covered. And I'm going to actually come up a little bit higher here, up onto the kind of shoulder of the cape area and along this little edge right here, just a little bit. Also on the back side here you can see we got a little bit of red, and I'll just kind of put one a little bit higher than that, and we'll kind of move them around here and take another look. It looks like most of the other areas are pretty well covered. Okay. As you can see, we don't have a lot of red on this bottom area because we've got that, we're not trying to build a horizontal area, but it's putting a lot of supports in here because this is a main attachment point. Basically, that's a big area that we want to make sure a lot of the weight of the model is going to be covered and it won't break free from the supports. That'll all be on the bottom. And again, with that many supports in there, you guys, if we have this too close to the build plate, it'll build up turbulence in here, and it'll print a whole bunch of rough detail in here. We're hopefully doing it like this, it will keep it pretty well flat. Okay, just kind of take a look at his hand out here. That's fully supported. We've got his lightsaber here, that's supported all the way to the tip, it looks like, so we should be good there. Okay, we'll scroll back out a little bit and get him more centered here. Okay, now we're going to come back over here to the starting menu and we're going to hit slice. This is setting this up for the final print file that the printing machine can understand. Now the other thing I forgot to mention there at the beginning is when we use the Uniformation profile for this particular printer uses a different type of a file program than, say, my any cubic machine does. So you have to make sure that you're using the right file format, otherwise the machine won't recognize it. So that's taken care of automatically when we select the machine. Okay, so it's showing here that we're going to have an estimated print time of 7 hours and 4 minutes. Okay, it's going to tell you basically how much it's going to weigh, 91.0 grams. Volume is going to be 82.70 milliliters of resin. So we know we have way more than that in our printer tray, so we should be good to go to be able to print this model. All right, now here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be bringing in our USB memory stick. I'm plugging it into the side of the laptop here. Okay, and then we're going to come over here and we're going to hit save. All right, we're going to come over here to the menu and we're going to find our USB drive. Okay, then we've got the file which is named One Piece Darth Vader. All right, I'm going to go ahead and rename this Test Vader. Okay, so that when it appears on the screen of our printer, we'll be able to recognize it as the file that we just worked with. Okay, now we're going to hit save, and it'll take it just a second here to copy the files over. Okay, and it's completing the file transfer here, and we'll give it just a second and we should see a successful write message pop up on the screen. And we have that down on the lower left. Okay, so we can close that out now. Just hit the X. And now we can remove our USB stick. And we're ready to go, you guys. We're going to just take this over now. We're going to plug this into the machine. And we're going to be able to start our first test print. All right, we'll be right back with that. All right, everybody. Well, we're back and we're set up and ready to go here. So now the next thing we need to do is just simply plug in our USB stick here at the front port and give it just a second and the machine will recognize it. We can see that our U-disc icon has lit up, so we go in here and we press this now, and then we're looking for the Test Vader. We see the Test Vader file here, so that's the one we want to work with. Okay, very simple. We can see we've got a nice little picture of the model here. We hit the play button, hit it again to confirm. The machine will load it up and we'll begin the print. And now we have our Z-axis movement. Just kind of flip open the lid here and show you the beginning steps. One of the features about the printer here, guys, that I really like, that I forgot to mention, well, I didn't know about it because we hadn't used the actual machine yet. The top of our build plate here never submerges all the way in the resin vat, which is really nice. That's going to keep everything a lot cleaner and a lot less messy when we go ahead and remove the build plate after the model has been printed to remove the parts off of it. So that's another really nice feature that I like. That's definitely superior to the other printer that I have. So, all right, you guys, we're going to be waiting here for about 6 hours. We'll have a constant update here going on, showing the progress of the print as it goes along. So, 6 hours for me and just a couple seconds for you guys. We'll be right back and show you the final stages of the print as it comes out, and we'll get it removed from the build plate. Be right back with that. Okay, everybody, we're back with you again, and you can see that we're at 99% through the print, so everything went really well. I checked on it a couple times on the way through. It's been about 5.5 hours or so it made really good time. And we'll just show you the last little step here as it lifts out of the vat, and we'll see the full reveal of the model here. And any second now we'll see the Z-axis travel all the way to the top, and then our print will be done. And there it goes. Nice quiet operation too. I was working right next to the machine the whole time and couldn't even hear it operating. Just a little bit of noise from the fans, but not bad at all. So we'll finish letting it get all the way to the top there, and then we'll let it drip for a couple of seconds, and then we'll take the build plate off and show you how the print looks. We are just about there. Okay, we have the message pop up on the screen that our print is complete. So we'll go ahead and hit this check mark here. Then we're back to the main screen. Alright, so let's just see how much resin's dripping out of there. Not too bad. Alright, so we'll go ahead and release the build plate. Nice and easy, just release the clamp up on top. And just carefully slide it out. And have a quick look here, you guys. Again, we have this little drip rail around the edge here, so none of our resin's going to pour off and get onto the bottom side, and the top side of the build plate stays completely dry here. So I'm really liking this. A lot less messy. You can see I haven't even gotten any resin on my gloves, but here's a look at the print, you guys. It looks really fantastic. I don't see a single flaw in it. Looks like all of our supports came through really nice. We've got our settings for our exposure time really good because the resin looks perfectly smooth. You can basically tell if you're overexposing your resin, it'll have tiny little pits in it like it's been baked. But this looks fantastic, you guys. We have a successful print. Alright, well guys, I'm going to take this over now to the removal area, and I'm going to show you how we get this off of the build plate really quick. Okay guys, we're over at the cleanup area, so it's time to remove our print from the build plate. And with our little skate that we made on the bottom here, this should be really nice and simple. So we're just going to kind of hold this and kind of brace it a little bit, and we're just going to work our way underneath the edge. And just carefully work in there and just slide it loose. Just like that, you guys. Kind of take a look at it here. And you can see it looks fantastic, you guys. Really, really happy. So the next step then is I'm going to be running this through the cleaning system, and then I'll take all the supports off of it, get it all nice and cleaned up, and we'll show you a nice up close look at this beautiful print, guys. Really, really happy with this machine. It's looking really promising so far. Okay, we are back once more, everybody, and here's a look at our completed model. I finished cleaning it all up. Didn't have any problem at all getting all the supports loose. The settings for those seem to be spot on. So I'm really, really pleased with this, you guys. You can see we've got smooth detail where it should be smooth, and really crisp and clear detail where it should be. And this print just turned out excellent right out of the gate with basic settings. And you can obviously go in and practice with the slicer program and with the resin settings and maybe fine-tune things a little bit more. But right out of the gate, I couldn't be happier. Let's kind of turn them around here a little bit and show you the detail on the model. Again, I selected this model, you guys, because we've got some really nice detail here, especially down by the base, and then we've got some really nice big smooth surfaces here, so you can tell, you know, what kind of a job the printer's doing. But I'm really, really pleased, especially if you look at the back of his cape here. No, you know, unusual weird looking lines or anything. And using the aliasing setting like we did, we still retained all the crisp detail, but we've got a nice smooth surface. I can't see any kind of print lines in this at all, you guys. It looks really, really good. So we are off to a great start with this machine. It's going to be my go-to machine going forward, I can already tell. So I'm very, very happy with how things are going so far, you guys, and that's my absolute honest opinion. Not making this stuff up. I'm really, really pleased, and I'm, you know, pretty new to 3D printing, so if I can get prints this nice off of this machine, I'll be completely happy. But just a beautiful little model there. And again, I'll remind you guys, you can find this over at CGI Trader right now. I'm not sure how long it's going to be available, so if you like it, you might want to grab it pretty quick. Again, this is a huge model. If you print it at full scale, you'll have to have a giant printer. But the files give you the option of printing this all in pieces too, so you can do that. And I may go back at some point later and break this down into pieces so I can print this at a huge scale. And you know, really have something special. But we're going to come back with another video that'll be part 3, you guys. I'm going to print another model, which we'll kind of keep that a secret until we get to it. But after that, I'm going to go in and do a little bit of painting on this and show you how it'll turn out with some nice paint work on it. So we'll kind of go from start to finish here. So I hope you tune in and check it out. All right, we'll be back next time, everybody. Until we see you next time, take care and happy modeling out there.